Hi guys, it's Sam from Creatively Sam's, and I've just made a family tree. I painted this on canvas and added pictures of all the generations, and if you want to see how I did it, stay tuned. It's coming up next. I got this idea a long time ago, and I really want to make this. What I did was I got a 16 by 20 stretch canvas, and I gathered a bunch of my blues, my greens, and my brown acrylic paints. The only other thing that you need is some water to wash your brush, paper towels to dry your brushes, and your brushes. The first thing I did was gather some blue paint. Some dark, some medium, some very light. And in the very center is some Color Float. Color Float keeps the paint wet longer and makes it easier to blend it. So I just put a little bit here and there on the paintbrush and started painting at the top. And I love the way it just blends all together. And all I did was I kept scrubbing in until, I don't know if you can see that. But I just kept scrubbing the first coat in until all of the canvas was covered with paint. At least. A little over 2/3. I really used no rhyme or reason to how I did this. I just kept mixing colors, and the Color Float really makes it blend in together. And I kept playing until I got it the way I wanted it. And remember, this is only paint. If you don't like what you do, paint over it. And I'm going to let that dry before I go on to the greens. Okay, once the blue background has dried, I'm going to start on the green. And I'm going to do it exactly the same way because right now I'm just putting a base coat on. And it really doesn't have to look like much right now. And using that Color Float really makes the paint blend. And I'll be back after I get this base coated. Okay, the green base coat is finished, and all I have to do now is wait for this to dry before I can put in any texture or any other colors. So we'll be back. Okay, now that the background is completely dry, I want to start in on the sky first. And what I did was took a little bit of the Color Float and some white acrylic paint and a flat paintbrush. I'm going to put it in the Color Float And I'm going to put the corner of the paintbrush in the white and just go back and forth until I have it blended on the brush. And I'll keep doing this until there's a good amount of paint on there. And then I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to make some little circles. Add a little more paint to my brush and continue going until I get the look I like. And notice that the color float gives it a translucent appearance, so it almost shades it while you're painting. And then just lightly skim over the bottom to give it a wispy look. And keep doing that until you like what you have. And we'll be back when I finish that. Now I started on a second layer to make them a little bit thicker and to give it a little more depth. And you can see how I've got the difference in colors just by using the color on one end. And give it that wispiness at the bottom. And you decide how many clouds you want. You decide how deep you want them to go or how bright you want them. If you got some that are a little bit dark or darker than you want, just add a little more paint. And I think I might go for just a little bit more, and then we'll start in on the grass. But this is your tree, or your family tree, and you do it the way you want it. Remember using the side with the color float makes it darker. And I think I'm just about done. Okay, let's start in on the grass. Okay, I gathered some of my greens and a little yellow and a couple of fan brushes. I have one that's pretty full and this one is not so full, but this one is the one I like for the detail. Okay, I'll start with the thicker one. You don't have to have a thick one. Just going to dab a little bit here, a little bit there, and you can see the way it makes little grass strokes. And you just start anywhere. And keep adding. And it gives the look of grass. And you'll continue this all the way over. And once you finish this, you start in on the second layer, offsetting it just a little bit so that the blades of grass shows. And a little bit lighter to put a little bit of yellow in there. And if you want it darker, you just add a little more dark on top. This is only paint. If you don't like what you have, paint over it. And once you add all of your layers, it gives it the look of grass moving. And we'll be back after I get most of this done. Okay, after I got all the green in the background, I took just a tiny, tiny bit on the very end of the paintbrush. And then just went in here and just added a little more movement. And then you can keep playing with it as long as you want. But it's starting to come together. Okay, now that the grass is done, let's start in on the tree. To do the tree, I just started off with 3 shades of brown. One dark, one medium, and one light. And I'm going to do the base of the tree before I put any accents in it with just the 2 colors. And then I'm going to start right in the center. And keep adding to it until I get the darkness and the height that I want. And this is basically just putting in the base coat. And we'll be back after I get the base in. Okay, I got the base of the tree in. Now we need to add some branches. And I don't know a tree branch that's straight. And you just keep adding tree branches until you like it. And I know that this is going to take 2 coats. So I'll be back after I get the 2 coats on, and then we'll get into some of the finer details. Okay, I've got a lot of the branches in, and now to give it a little detail, I'm going to take the lighter shade with the darker shade, and just gently go up one side to give it some light. I love the way this blends together. And you can see how the one side is lighter than the other. And it gives it a little sunlight. And if you get it too light, you just add more dark. Keep adding paint as you need it. And that's a little too light, so a little more dark paint. And like I said before, this is only paint. If it doesn't turn out the way you like it, paint over it. Try to remember where your sunlight's coming from. I want mine to come from this area. So I'm keeping all the light color on the top of the branches. Oop, that's way too light, so let's darken it. Okay, and now I'm going to use a detail brush, and I'm going to dab it on both sides. And I'm going to start adding in small branches. And just add more paint as you need it, and more branches wherever you want them. And this can take a while until you get it the way you want it, but it's not something you have to spend a lot of time working on. Do a little now, do a little later. And I'll be back after I get the rest of them in. After you have your little branches in, step away from it. Come back later, a couple hours, even the next day, and you'll see spots that are a little bare, or maybe a little thick, or a little too thin. Like right here, it's very bare. So I'm going to add a little bit here, and a little bit there. And you really don't have to go crazy with this, but this is yours. You put in as much as you like. And I'll step away from this 3, 4, maybe 5 times before I decide that I'm done putting in the little branches. Remember, this is your painting. This is your family tree. You do what you want to do with it. And I'm no artist by any means. I've probably come back to this 5 times. Every time I do, I see a little more that I need to fill in. but I figured I'd better stop or I'll be at this for a couple more days. I might add a little green to the bottom to soften the root area. If I do, it'll be done the same way that I added the little bit of grass here. We'll come back and see if I change that. Yeah, I did add a little green to the bottom. It looked a little too unfinished without it. So there's the tree. And this project is almost done. I had my son look at this, and he said that I needed to add a little more to the trunk. He said there wasn't enough detail, so I just added a little bit of light brown in there. And I decided that it looked a little lonely, so I gave it some little trees on either side. Okay, this is about done. Okay, I printed out pictures of the family, and the base of this is my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and this is a 2-inch punch. And the family, the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids are all in 1.5 inch. Now I'm going to spray the photo mount on the back and attach it to the picture. Okay, it's all done. It's ready to be gifted. When I put the pictures on, I tried to make sure that they looked like they were coming from branches. There's still plenty of room for any more additions that we may have. And I think she's going to like this. If you like what you saw, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and happy creating, everyone.